Hey, welcome back to the channel, welcome back. It's awesome that you're tuning in. So in today's video we are going to discuss the Nvidia Shield. This is not the Pro Edition, this is just the normal edition. The reason I want to review this in 2020, because the question is this still the king of retro emulation? There are a lot of different TV boxes out there, better said it's an invasion, and there are quite some powerful versions out there. I did a review here on the channel, but I wanted to focus on the Nvidia Shield. Alright, so for the people who are not familiar with the Nvidia Shield, it's more like a combination of emulation and a review. I want to discuss what are you going to get, what kind of versions are there out there, and is this thing worth your money? I know there are two versions out there. They are just basically the Nvidia Shield with the Shield remote, and I have the deluxe version that costs a couple of, let's say, euros more. But this thing includes the Shield controller, and if you want to do some gaming on the device, it's highly recommended. You can also just use an Xbox 360 controller, of course, but also in this video we're going to check if the Shield controller is worth our money, and this is a very comfortable thing. So if you can see over here, you have some specification of the Nvidia Shield. It's a quite powerful device, even it's a little bit old. It even has an Tegra X1 chip inside, 64-bit CPU, 256 core Nvidia graphics, 3 gigs of RAM, 60 gigabytes of storage, and you can expand it with an USB, for example a hard disk or just a USB thumb drive, depends of course what you want to do with it. But first let's take a close look inside the package. How did they pack it up? And not to forget, what are we going to get? I already mentioned this is the deluxe version with the controller, because I was personally very curious how is this controller playing. So when opening up, what you're going to see is the Nvidia Shield itself. I personally really love the design itself. I'm a big Nvidia fan, just going to be honest with it. And seeing these colors and this, let's say, the design of the Nvidia Shield, I really love it. So it feels quite heavy, very nice. We have the remote itself. I must say it navigates very fine, and even have the option to talk with it with a microphone inside. Here we have the power adapter and the controller. I must say the controller, same story. I love the design. It feels very comfortable, but it's also very strange. Just I am very curious if this thing plays very well, if you're going to play some retro emulation on this. The D-pad is more like a clicky's D-pad. Normally I'm not a big fan of it, but we're going to test it out and going to give it a try. The controller itself have all the features of, for example, an Xbox 360 controller. So that is not a big problem if you want to play all the games. As you can see, it has headphone and it even has more. Alright, and here we have, let's see what we have more. Here we have a little manual, nothing important. And here we have some cabling, for example the USB cable. And what I did notice with the power supply, this is a universal power supply because you need to click on, depends which region you live, but it is a completely different voltage. A very strange one, around 90 volts, and the connector is not the typical micro USB or Type-C what you are using. So just keep that in mind. If you want to buy a new one, you need to buy it from Nvidia or a company that sells the original ones. When I powered on the device itself, it needed to install a lot of new updates, and it took quite some time. But nevertheless, this was the final result, and I must say I really like the layout itself. Here at the top we're finding the apps, and what you can see, I already installed some apps for testing here in the video, and including some games. Here at the bottom we're having the Nvidia games. What I understand, this is subscription based. Connect to your Steam account and you can play a lot of games besides retro emulation. Nevertheless, there's a lot of new options. You can basically play modern games, retro games and Android games, so that's pretty cool. The Nvidia Shield has also a built-in Chromecast, so you can stream from your telephone, so that's a little bit of an extra. We can watch our favorite shows on Netflix on full HD and 4K. Alright, so we're having this powerful little Android machine, and the benchmarks are not a big problem for him. So that I was wondering the following thing. Does it run freaking Crysis? No, I don't think so. But is the Nvidia Shield worth our money in 2020 if it comes to retro emulation? I did try a lot of emulators on different devices, and most of the time there is always something that is not working or working properly. So in this video we're also going to test if retro emulation is worth 2020 on the Nvidia Shield. Nintendo 64 has always been a little bit of a problem, but nowadays we have a lot of different emulators that run quite some games very good. For example, Killer Instinct, I did notice the famous glitch when choosing a character, and as you can see it doesn't apply anymore. Simply if you're buying some emulators you gain the latest updates and the games run very well. PlayStation on the other hand, it's supported by a lot of older and even some Android handhelds. It's quite demanding, but it's still very good to emulate on lower end devices. So the Nvidia Shield doesn't need to have any problem with this one. But when it comes to Sega Saturn, this is going to be a problem if you're having a low power device. And what you already can see with this, that the Nvidia Shield has no problem emulating the Sega Saturn. And it runs, for example, Daytona on 60 FPS. Nowadays we have a very good emulator if it comes to Sega Dreamcast called The Dream. You can use the light version or you can support the team and buy the app for a couple of dollars. And what is very cool about this, that it even has a capability to run a lot of games very decent. It's still a work in progress when making this video, but what you can see over here, it runs like a charm. I did a lot of reviews about different Android boxes, but there is one thing a lot of these boxes struggle with. Even with the King, they having problems with PSP, for example. And what you can see with the Nvidia Shield, that it runs the PSP very well. Keep in mind, God of War is not perfect again because it's a super demanding game, but if you want to play a lot of games on the PSP, it does run very well on the Nvidia Shield. Alright, so let's talk about the controller, because at first I really hated it. I really loved the looks, but I didn't know it for sure. It feels very comfortable, but if you're looking at the controller in general, I don't know, man, I don't know. But playing around with it quite some time now, I like this. The D-pad, I don't think it's the best D-pad for fighting games, but even for a clicky D-pad is very nice. Have all the features, I like it. Yep, start select and the return button. So the Shield controller, yeah, I like it. But if you want to play Android games beside all the emulation stuff, of course the Nvidia Shield is a very good product. because as you can see, the latest Asphalt, it runs like a charm, and all the older games work very well. For example, the buggy racing game, but I must say, of course, this game is not very demanding and is already running on my older Android devices. But still, if you want to play some Android games, it's a very good box. If it comes to the NVIDIA Shield and the USB connection, there are only 2 on the back. I find a little bit less, so keep in mind if you want to use a couple of USB devices, you need to use a USB hub, for example. So at the end, this is what you're going to get at the back. So that is something I hope they improve in the later versions. The remote didn't pay a lot of attention to it, but it works like a charm. It's just a basic pointer. If it comes to airflow and cooling, it's still getting a little bit hot, but it works like a charm. And overall, I love the NVIDIA Shield design. It's a powerful device, so if you want to play some retro emulation, I think it's still the king in 2020. I know there is the Pro version out there, but that is only a little bit of a step up. Just wanted to say it, but I thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the little bell, become one of the Wicked family. It would be great to have you here. So that means I will see you in my next video. And most important, thanks for watching.